birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me.
What is going on, Hive? How is everybody doing? Oops, I forgot to put that up on the screen. If you are just tuning into the Hive, welcome. This is a contrarian thinking live stream where we are not afraid to think past the headlines. So if you are offended or rattled on behalf of others, this is probably not going to be the stream for you. However, if you are the conspiracy theorist in your friend group, or you like to look into things and read the footnotes, you are amongst friends and you found your people. Welcome to the Hive. So we will be getting into why I believe this stud, just like many of the other documents that have come out, may have been downplayed for significance. As a reminder, if you are new here and you want to join the 24/7 off-stream Hive Mind, the Discord and the Substack, those links are in my YouTube channel bio. So as I was saying, every stream that I do is free. All I ask is that you click subscribe. That helps the channel out a lot. That is the best way to support the channel. And those links, as I was saying, you can find them when you click more on my YouTube channel. We also got birdiebombshell.com. We have some exciting merch coming here in September. I made a lot of progress on that today, and I think you guys are going to really like it. The Hive Mind Roundtable is going to be this Sunday, August 24th at 7 p.m. Central. If you're interested in being on that Hive Mind Roundtable, my email is right here, birdiebombshell00@gmail.com. Just go ahead and put Roundtable or Hive Mind Roundtable in the subject line. Type a couple sentences on what you would like to discuss, and I will be announcing those members of the Hive for the Roundtable on Thursday's stream, so in 2 days. Moving on to the Discord question of the day. This one comes from Fiji. Fiji asks a really good question. The Supreme Court says Brian Kohberger, under certain circumstances, can apply for an appeal outside of the 42 days post-sentencing, which is why he didn't say anything or give up anything. He wanted to leave himself with one out later in life when the time is right. Why do you think prosecution dropped the ball by not gathering more hard evidence from him as a requirement in exchange for the plea agreement? Whom had what on whom? Well, without giving too much of a synopsis on it, I would say the plea deal wasn't just a deal with Kohberger. I think it was a deal with the case itself, meaning that both sides had skeletons to protect. The state didn't want their weak points dragged into trial. Kohberger didn't want to risk getting put on death row and found guilty. So you can call it meeting in the middle in a way. Life in prison, no confession, future wiggle room. That would be how I would sum it up on a very basic level. Is that all of the routes that he could take? Is that the reason that it really happened that way? I don't know. But it does seem like it was like a, let's agree to disagree. Let's move on. Kohberger's got wiggle room in the future. We're done with this case. He can do whatever he wants. Just confess. Death penalty be off the table. And when all this gets exposed, all of us on the prosecution team are going to be retired and not have to worry about it. I have to give a shout out to Outcast. I'm scrolling TikTok and I think that I see a recording of the stream, but then like what I'm seeing is not matching up with what the stream would look like. And I'll just play this for everybody here. This was hilarious. Again, I'm not even saying I believe this. I'm just saying this is interesting.
Right.
It's interesting that there's a real thing called crisis actors that have existed in the past and have been proven out that they are that. I'm not saying that this is it, but it's thought provoking. And I think it's very interesting to look into. So thank you to Harley Quinn and Diego Girl for that. Now, moving on to the Hive Mind finds. And I kind of clipped it so we could go right into the Hive Mind finds. So anyways, shout out to Outcast for that. That's funny. I don't know what made you feel compelled to do that, but it made us laugh. I think it's awesome. So this first Hive Mind find is coming from Sherlock Rome's. And I'm sure everybody in here is familiar with Sherlock Rome's work. He's been doing an unbelievable job with this case with calling out a bunch of the narratives, the Delta, a ton of other stuff, especially also as of late with the firefighter shooting that occurred. Now, I got this email. He says, "Hey, Birdie, I saw your video from yesterday. I know people think 1:56 a.m. to 1:58 a.m. is missing from 1320 dumpster cam, but it's not. For some reason, they are separate clips. I encourage everyone to watch them. They are very disturbing and chilling. Here are the 2 links for those times." I'm going to screen record this so that we can put that audio into something. Okay. So let me just save that to my downloads. Hive, do not let me forget that I just did that. I'm saving it to my downloads right now because that will most likely be something that we can dive into. Okay. This is just some weird ass shit. Excuse my language. This is weird as hell. This was on, I believe this was Facebook. Amina sent me this. They go, "Oh yeah, hey Birdie, I was just on Facebook and found this. This is a memorial where Hudson was found. But why would anyone place a knife with a sheath there? WTF. I wonder if Hudson's death and what happened to all 4 that night is somehow connected." Quote, "They just killed Ethan. These words have spun in my head since hearing them on Linda Lane. On May 1st, 2022, Ethan's best friend, Hudson Lindo, died in a creek from hazing/drug OD. Sigma Chi was involved and no one was held accountable. Now look at his memorial by the creek. Anyone see something? Coincidence?" It said Ethan got in a fight at Sigma Chi over this. David B was there and claimed to be giving sober drives all night, though we hear him on Linda Lane footage when another fight broke out near 1122 King Road involving Quinn, Logan, David, and David. David is a wrestler and uses high amounts of roids. David B's mom owns a white Hyundai Elantra. Quinn claims that he was never set foot in Moscow, even though he's Dylan Morton's boyfriend. So you can kind of see it here. And I'll make this bigger. That reminds me a lot of that 4chan post that gave a really, really detailed timeline of where they parked, whose car they took, mentioned the steroid use, said this all went back to a hazing incident. And then Ethan had beef about some dude's shrunken boys down there. And that's what led to this. All right, let's get into it, huh? I'm going to reread the statement from the PCA that says at approximately 4:17 a.m., a security camera located at 1112 King Road, a residence immediately to the northwest of 1122 King Road, picked up distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17 a.m. The security camera is less than 50 feet from the west wall of Kernodle's bedroom. What do you guys believe that this thud could be? Scott just said it. The SKS idea comes from that they were shot.
The phone call the Gonzalez family received on November 13th is one they'll never forget.
We were, it was Sunday around
we were watching football.
1-ish, and we were
like
watching
every
football.
family, or a lot of families on Sunday.
And then our son was here. Everybody was home except for she was down at her home.
We gather.
And my niece called me and she was freaking out. And she said, "Christy, have you talked to Kaylee?" And I said, "Yesterday, like last night." And she said, something bad happened. And she was just bawling. And I said, "Well, what do you mean? What do you mean?" And she said, "I think Kaylee's dead." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she
all
said,
our stomachs just dropped.
She said there was somebody just called me and they live down there. She said there was a party last night and somebody went in and shot the party up and Kaylee was shot. I was like, "What?" And I just threw my phone. I started screaming. I started telling everybody to call Olivia and to get all her roommates on the phone. And I started calling Maddie, and Maddie wouldn't answer, and I said, "No, this can't be, because Maddie would have called me. If Kaylee was shot last night at a party, Maddie or Jack would have called me. Like, no. And I called Kaylee and went straight to voicemail. I was calling Maddie. I was calling Jack.
I want you guys to remember this part right here.
Maddie would have called me. If Kaylee was shot last night at a party, Maddie or Jack would have called me. Like, no. And I called Kaylee and went straight to voicemail. I was calling Maddie. I was calling Jack. It was ringing. I turned on the TV and I saw it said 1122 King Road. Like, Kaylee's car was in the driveway. Maddie's car was in the driveway. But it was saying an unconscious person. And we're saying, okay, maybe this isn't like, maybe something happened. So Steve starts calling.
I have to pause it. And this is not disrespectful, but this just what is so confusing about this is I understand you're retelling it, whether this is a story told to you or not, but the way that you're portraying the story, I'm trying to make sense of it from you were just called and told that they were shot, but then you're seeing it on the TV that they're an unconscious person. So you're like, oh, maybe. And then you call the cops. I don't know. That's just something that kind of stuck out to me where I'm like, wait, so somebody calls you and said that your daughter was shot. So you turn on the TV, you see an unconscious person. You're like, oh, maybe. And then you call the police. I understand it can happen quick, but it's just kind of, I don't know.
Oh, Kaylee's car was in the driveway. Maddie's car was in the driveway. But it was saying an unconscious person. And we're saying, okay, maybe this isn't like, maybe something happened. So Steve starts calling the police. Steven, our son, started calling the hospital, and he started calling the PD and saying, my name is Gonzalez, and we heard that my daughter Kaylee Gonzalez was killed in an accident, and they said, oh, we can't give you any more information, we'll call you back. Well, we just, next thing you know, some more phones started ringing. Our daughters that came running down, 16 and 17 years old, came and said, Mom, somebody just called me and said that Kaylee's dead. And we're like, what? Like, who was it? She's like, I don't know, it's somebody that said that they're there and Kaylee's dead.
So that's the end of the clip, but it's like, so now you heard it. She heard it twice that she's dead. And she says, what, both times? And who was it? I don't know. And there was somebody that was there. And then you saw it on the TV that was unconscious. Again, I'm trying to say this as nicely as I can. I get this as an interview. I get that it's after the fact, but am I the only one tripping here that doesn't think that the order of that, both times that they said that they were shot, came from people calling and telling them that? On the TV, they saw that they were unconscious, and then you just heard her say when Steve said that he called, they didn't give any info. That is ass backwards. That's so weird. The TV was already saying unconscious person. The police aren't giving any information. But yet the people that are calling you are telling you that they're shot. I don't know. I've never heard anything like it ever. This is a good visual. I'll make this full screen. For those people that don't know, the camera was right here. Obviously, King Road is approximately less than 50 feet away. This gradient, or like this fence, this gradient fence here, is what you see down here. So that camera is looking out towards the street. This is what you would see if you were looking from the camera's point of view. It's extremely close. Now, I got to give a shout out to Outcast because he has a video that the Idaho Statesman had put out where he removed the background noise. What I've learned from Outcast is that he's very particular about how are you going to remove background noises, because he doesn't want to get rid of anything that could be, how I'll describe it, hidden within the noise. Sometimes certain filters will not only reduce the background noise, but it takes out other sounds that could be voices that maybe the program you're using doesn't recognize as voices, if that makes sense. And if you're an audio engineer or Outcast, if you're listening and I butchered that, I apologize. But in my head, that's how it makes sense. I went and I listened to this video, and I will let this play. I went and I played around on Soundtrap, and I completely isolated the audio, and look at what happens. And the length of this clip where I started, so whatever that was, 20 seconds. Look at what appears when you look at the audio file with that background removed. for vocals only. I can hear voices. There's clearly something going on here. So I hear Kaylee right here. Xan and Ethan. Kind of can picture it happening, you know, right out here. Even down off to the side. Like if they had gone out the back door, they'd have to come down this way. Yeah. I don't think they're in the house. It's terribly sad. And it's so weird that this is being covered up. Let's go to this screen recorded one. I didn't plan on doing obviously a full scale live dig. This is rather just to show these PCA documents. They say it was a thud. Okay. You hear a thud, you hear a scream. Well, you hear a lot more going on. The point that I'm saying is people are so quick to say, well, the girls were frozen in fear and they get a pass. But then Brian Koberger, who doesn't have any connection to the victims, it's like, well, he's a stalker. Isn't it obvious? He's weird. Let's listen to it straight up before we do any adjustments. I hear go home. (1:56 to 1:58 a.m. everybody. That's exactly right. That's right when the girls would have got home. And yes, this is audio that's been extracted from that YouTube video, and there is filters on it by Jeff H. Let's see if we can't clear this up here a little bit. Bro. Who the hell would be saying that? Who would be saying that? And what a random, odd coincidence if this is all just a conspiracy. Let's listen to this whole thing now with these settings and see if it clears up any of the other stuff. Dude. Hold on. I can't be the only one that just heard this. Wow. I don't know what we're hearing. We can only guess, right? Certainly sounds not like a K-bar. That's just mind-blowing. Honestly, my mind is blown right now. If you guys want to mess with the audio yourselves, as I was saying, that was taken from Jeff H's 18-second 1:56:46 a.m. sound enhancement video. Man, it's pretty crazy. That's what I was saying about that thud. Now, even though that's a different thud, I was referring to the one at 417. That shit was weird. That shit's very weird, and it just sounds like so much is going on. So I don't know about people in the Hive. I'm getting to the point where I don't know if there's any evidence that is going to just jolt people awake. People need to start understanding that there is so much stuff that you can show people that they just want to turn their nose up to. And yet we're supposed to sit there and listen to all the suits, all the mainstream media, all the people that are being paid to push a narrative by God knows who, and get essentially gaslit on an industrial level to the point where now we sound like crazy people. And everybody that says he's so guilty, he confessed. Well, it's like, okay, yes, but have you heard anything else going on? Have you heard anything else going on throughout this case? Or there's just the classic NPC that's just going to look at you. That's just like the lights are on, nobody's home, just seething at the mouth, just can't wait to call you conspiracy theorists, just can't wait to call you disrespectful, just can't wait to tell you that you're victim blaming or victim shaming or disrespecting the families. And it's like, dude, the mainstream media and the world news put this case in front of tens of millions of eyes. And millions of people, I'm going to go ahead and say millions of people believed it. While do you guys think it's over 1 million people worldwide that think this case is bullshit? I would say that number is growing. And I would also say, I would bet a lot of money that there are people that they have to get in front of a teleprompter, get in front of the television, and their gut tells them that they don't even believe it. But that's also the system that we live in. Say what we tell you to, or you don't get a paycheck. And it's ass backwards and it's broken. And that's why I'm so grateful and thankful for the Hive, because people are able to come together, think logically, think past the headlines, not get offended, not care if you disagree, but rather theorize, at least wake people up to the narrative. If Brian Koberger's not going to appeal it and no attorneys are going to take this case, and Brian didn't do it alone or Brian didn't do it at all, at the end of the day, I don't know how much power we all have in that aspect. And there could be some people that disagree with me when I say that. That's fine. But we do have the power to make sure that we are waking up normies and people who just don't pay attention, read the headlines, because that's dangerous too. That's very dangerous. Oh, man. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed this live stream. Like I said, welcome to everybody that is new here. I go live every weeknight at 7 p.m. Central. And thank you to everybody that did give a super chat throughout this evening in this stream. All of the streams stay free. The best way to support the channel is to go on over to the YouTube channel, or when you exit out of this live, press the like, press subscribe, share that clip it, send that out to your friends, see what they think about it. What do they hear? Who knows? Maybe one of them's going to, hit the nail on the head, and you're going to hear something, be like, holy shit, that's exactly what's going on. So don't forget to, if you want to be a part of the roundtable, that is now open. I will close that off on Thursday, but it's going to be this upcoming Sunday, August 24th. So with that, everybody, I hope you have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow. Cheers.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life.